The call came on a quiet Tuesday afternoon, the kind where sunlight fell through the skyscrapers just right, catching the glass facades and making the city below glimmer like gold dust. I was perched in my corner office, my eyes scanning quarterly performance reports on a sleek tablet, coffee cooling at my elbow. The city below pulsed with life, unaware of the storm about to hit my perfectly structured afternoon. My phone buzzed. The screen lit up with a name that made my stomach tighten. Dad. For a fleeting second, I considered letting it go to voicemail. Our relationship had deteriorated over the years into little more than obligatory holiday texts and the occasional awkward lunch where we pretended to care about each other's lives. But instinct won over hesitation, and I answered. Hello? Emma. We need to talk about the wedding, he said, his voice sharp and clipped, skipping any greeting or niceties. I set down my pen and let out a slow breath. Okay, what about it? He hesitated, the kind of pause that immediately told me bad news was coming. Carol and I have been finalizing the guest list. Another pause, longer this time, pregnant with tension. Her business associates are flying in from all over, New York, Los Angeles, Miami. They're very important people, Emma. I leaned back in my chair, my fingers resting lightly on the desk as I stared at the skyline beyond the glass. And, I prompted, these are CEOs, creative directors, people who really matter in her industry. Carol's company is at a critical growth stage, and appearances are everything. She needs this wedding to reflect a certain image. I exhaled slowly. Just say it. We think it would be best if you didn't attend. The words hit me like a physical shove. I let them settle in the air between us, bitter and heavy. Because, I asked, Carol wants to keep the wedding classy, sophisticated. Her friends, colleagues, business partners, they're all very accomplished. And you're still... His voice trailed off. The hesitation lingered like smoke in a room. Still, what? I asked, my voice low and measured. You know what I mean, Emma. You're 32, renting an apartment, driving that old Honda, working a government job that nobody really understands. Carol's friends might question why my daughter isn't more accomplished. I closed my eyes for a moment. The words weren't new. They were a familiar echo from my entire adult life. After Mom died when I was 19, Dad had remarried Patricia within 2 years. Patricia made it abundantly clear I was a disappointment. That marriage had ended in 5 bitter years of silent battles and veiled criticism. Now, at 61, Dad had Carol, 15 years his junior, ambitious, image-obsessed, and apparently embarrassed by my very existence. So, I'm being uninvited from your wedding because your fiancé thinks I'll make her look bad, I said flatly. Don't be dramatic, he said quickly. We're just maintaining a standard. You understand how important this is for Carol. This wedding is basically a networking event. Your presence... Well, it could raise questions. I see, I said softly. My situation. Emma, please, you're an adult. Sometimes we make sacrifices for people we love. You have to understand this is about Carol, her career, her company, everything she's worked for. I thought about the calls over the past 3 years, the ones where he casually mentioned Carol's struggles, almost like he was testing me, the ones where he suggested I might know someone who could invest, the calls where his voice brightened when I found him an investor. Now it all made sense. So you want me gone, I said quietly, from a wedding that's 3 weeks away. The wedding I already bought a dress for. I'll reimburse you, he said quickly. This is just how it has to be. I understand perfectly, Dad. Good. I knew you'd be reasonable. You've always been the understanding one, not like my brother, the golden child, the one who died at 24, leaving Dad to pour all his unspent expectations onto me. Anything else? I asked. No. We'll catch up after the honeymoon. Maybe lunch. Congratulations, I said, and hung up. I sat in silence staring at my phone. For a long time. Then, deliberately, I opened my laptop and accessed my encrypted email. To Marcus Chin, subject, immediate action required effective immediately. Withdraw all capital from Prestige Marketing Group. Trigger all exit clauses. Return all funds to our holding company within 48 hours. No negotiations, no grace period. Emma. I hit send. 30 seconds later, my phone rang. Marcus Chin, my investment manager and one of the few people who knew the full scope of my financial portfolio. Emma, he said carefully, that's $2.7 million. Prestige Marketing is showing strong growth. This withdrawal will collapse their expansion. I understand exactly what it will do, Marcus. Execute. There was a pause. Then, consider it done. Paperwork filed within the hour. They'll receive notification by end of business day. I returned to my reports as if nothing had happened. I didn't get rich by luck. No lottery. No distant relative dying. After Mom passed, I buried myself in work. MIT computer science, applied mathematics, scholarships, and Mom's modest life insurance policy paid for everything. Dad barely noticed. He certainly didn't care when I graduated. I was recruited by a specialized government contractor. Classified work. I can't discuss details, but my skill, identifying patterns in complex systems, became extremely valuable. By 25, I earned more than most senior executives. By 28, I began investing strategically. By 30, my portfolio reached $47 million. By 32, over $180 million. I still rented my apartment. I still drove my Honda. I still worked my government job because it gave me purpose beyond wealth. Dad had no idea. 3 years ago, at a formal dinner, Carol had pitched her business aggressively. We're at a pivotal moment, she said, swirling wine. If we secure the right investor, we could expand into 3 new markets within a year. She glanced at me expectantly, as if I could magically produce a wealthy friend. I might know someone, I said. That someone was me. Through my layered holding companies, I invested $2.7 million in her firm. Generous terms, flexible repayment, minimal oversight. Dad had hugged me for the first time in years. Carol never asked questions about the source. Business was thriving until Tuesday. By evening, my phone was flooded with frantic texts from Dad. By morning, voicemails piled up. By day 5, Marcus texted, "Your father and Carol are at Silver Oak offices. Security is holding them in the lobby. They demand to meet the principal investor. I'll be there in 20 minutes, I typed back. Silver Oak Capital occupied the 42nd floor of a sleek glass tower. The lobby smelled faintly of leather and polished wood. Carol's voice echoed, sharp and panicked. "This is absurd! You can't just refuse to meet us." Dad looked older than I'd ever seen him, suit slightly wrinkled, tie loose. He spotted me before Carol did. "Emma?" he said, confused. "What are you doing here?" "I work here," I said simply. Silence. I pressed the biometric scanner and the door clicked open. They followed me into the corridor, down to my corner office. The nameplate read, Emma J. Anderson. Principal partner Carol's face turned pale. I gestured to the office. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of Lake Michigan. Walls lined with degrees, government commendations, and a Forbes 30 under 30, feature Dad had never seen. My desk held a single photograph, Mom, smiling the year before she died. 3 years ago, I began. Dad mentioned Carol needed an investor. I provided one through my firms. $2.7 million. Terms generous, minimal oversight. I wanted the business to succeed. I wanted you to be happy, Dad. Dad shook his head, stunned. But how? You're a government employee. You drive a Honda. You rent an apartment. Where did you... I leaned back, calm. I've been consulting for specialized agencies since I was 23. Skills are valuable. Over the years, I invested wisely. Current assets under management, $180 million. My personal net worth in the same range. The silence was absolute. Carol stammered, This is impossible. I pulled out documents, bank statements, investment summaries, property holdings, government contracts, redacted. Dad's hands trembled as he scanned the numbers. It's real, but why? Never told me. Because I wanted to see if you'd love me for me, not for what I had. I met his eyes. Your words landed like a blow Tuesday when you called to uninvite me from your wedding. Carol shouted, You're destroying my company. You can't just... Actually, I said, according to clause 14.3 of our investment agreement, I can withdraw funding immediately under certain conditions, including if I determine the investment no longer aligns with my strategy. Dad stepped forward, pleading, Emma, please, let's talk about the wedding. You can come. You can... I don't want to come, Dad, I interrupted. I wanted to matter. Tears ran down his face. He cried fully, realized. The money remained withdrawn. A 30-day bridge loan was arranged for the employees, not Carol. The wedding was postponed. Dad called it off 2 weeks later. Months passed. Every Sunday, Dad stood in my apartment lobby with coffee and bagels. Slowly, I began walking with him. Conversations about Mom, Jason, lost years. Carol eventually broke off the engagement. Dad and I were not fully healed, but we were trying. And sometimes that was enough.